So your character class has class skills. Anything that's a class skill, you just get one rank in it. Anything that's a cross-class skill, you get no ranks at first level. How it's going to work is it's your level in your class rank is equal to your level in that class. So if you're, say, what's an example? What did I open up to? Here's a good one. If you're a noble, one of your class skills is appraise. So you just get one rank in appraise. Any cross class would be half of your level. So let's say you're a level 5 noble. You'd have 5 ranks in appraise. But let's just pretend you don't have hide. So you'd have 2 ranks in hide. It would be half of your level rounded down in cross class skills. And your class skills, it is your level. So even if you multi-class too, it still works the same way. So it would be like any skill that you picked up, you'd get 1 rank for every level, and any skill that you was cross class when you leveled up, you get half. So does that make sense? Everybody's nodding yes. Fantastic. Josh, I can't see your face. Did that make sense to you?
Yes.
All right. Christy, we wrote it down on your character sheet that way. So you're all set. You don't have to do anything. So as far as being trained in skills, anything that is a class skill, you are technically trained in. Anything that is a cross-class skill, you are also technically trained in as soon as you get ranks in it. And so because one of my major problems with D20 is it's like, hey, there's 50 skills. Half of them do half of a job of something, and you get X amount. It's like, well, why wouldn't any rogue be trained in? Why would anybody playing the game take ranks in forgery? Like, that's going to come up once in a campaign. Why would you put points into that? Whereas sense motive or bluff or hide or perception or spot or all of these other skills, you're like, well, I need those because they're going to come up every single session. In almost every single fight, I'm going to have to perceive something or hide or whatever. So like there's just this massive disproportionate use of your skills, and some of the skills are just absolutely silly. Which is fun when you're playing and you can use them. Silly is fun, but if you're wasting your ability to sense motive so that you can do something silly, like that's not fair to anybody playing. Even if it's fun, it's still not fair. So I just like to give everybody all their class skills. And I don't think any of you are going to argue with me about that. And if you do have a problem with it, I'd love to talk about it. But for right now, that's what we're going to go forward with. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it in between the game session. So that being said, I'm going to move on, and let's. The next person is Josh for what you would be doing in the city for while you're there. And again, if you don't feel like you're equipped properly, like let's say you don't have a bow and you want to buy a bow or a ranged weapon, a crossbow or something like that, we can do that too real quick. It won't take much work.
No, for combat and everything, I feel like I have what I can have at this point. But I am probably in the city to get some supplies that the smaller town I live in wouldn't have. I'm not from here, but this is the closest big town where I can get some things for my... I'm a handyman generally, so I'm just here to stock up on all the things that aren't made locally.
If you're buying supplies, you can go ahead and let's see here. This is just generic stuff, nothing very specific.
Me?
Yes, Josh.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just generic stuff.
Just generic stuff.
So we're gonna say that for every pound of generic stuff that you are trying to acquire, we're gonna say it's gonna cost you 2 marks.
Okay.
So whatever you think is appropriate, go ahead and deduct. And later on in the campaign, if you're like, oh, hey, I bought a bunch of random shit and I'm pretty sure there'd be like a hammer in there or something to that effect, just let me know. And you know how I am about this equipment stuff. It's
well, I've got a hammer for
tedious
sure,
to list out. Well, I I have a tent and a torch and 3 vials of ink and 2 water skins and a whetstone. It's like, no. If you need to
No,
use
it'll
that
be
stuff,
like
just
it'll be
subtract it.
smaller building supplies, probably like nails and maybe a chain or something if I needed that for something. Yeah, stuff
All right.
like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, like I said, if it comes up later that it's something you think would be useful, let me know, and we'll go from there. You guys know I'm pretty flexible.
Mm-hmm.
The next person is Kimmy.
I'd like to buy a bandolier of daggers.
Okay, so how many would be in a bandolier? 6?
Yeah, I guess that would be okay.
Let's say 6. Okay. How much are they charging for daggers in this game? Okay, so that would be 12 marks.
It's pretty reasonable.
Okay. So additionally, I think you're dressed in a white acceptance dress. Let's go over
You're saying
that.
something about I shouldn't,
Right.
not want people to know who I am.
If you're kind of off by yourself and you're not with a group of Aes Sedai, and you're an accepted, so you don't have. So most Aes Sedai have a bodyguard called a warder, who's somebody who they give like extra magical powers to, that makes them stronger, faster. They live longer. They can transfer health in between the two of them in the game. But as an accepted, you wouldn't have one of those yet. Eventually, as an actual full-blown Aes Sedai, that's usually one of the first things they do is they bind somebody as a warder. But you wouldn't have a bodyguard right now.
So I just be wearing like some traveling clothes.
Yeah. So if you wanted to deduct a mark or 2 for some regular traveling clothes, that's fine. If you want to look a little bit fancier, you could deduct 10 marks.
If I want to be that fancy, that's going to cost more than daggers. And I
Weren't you
wanted
saying you were supposed to be
and you were
really
saying
hot?
something about picking sides, and I was thinking I would probably be on the side of the queen, right? Because she'd be like my sister in training at this point.
Right. She would be a political ally. She would probably be somebody who could help you if you needed to, but it would be one of those situations.
Cool, but not the same class.
Right. It would be one of those situations where she'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll help you, but you're gonna get in trouble for not being in the places that you should be and messing with the people that you should be." Like, generally speaking, an accepted shouldn't be off by themselves. And even in like the rules, they're like, "Oh, you should have a supervisor person with you." But I think we kind of hand waved that away, that something happened to them and you ran away, something to that effect, that you don't have this person.
I was just going home to visit mom and dad, and now I'm just not going back because I have a murder to
Yeah, there you go. That's what it was. Okay.
deal with. But yeah, so let's say I've got like a white headscarf or something to show my no, wait, red, yes, a red headscarf.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. All right, that's great. All right. Christy is next, and then Carrie will be last. You might want to pick up like either a couple more daggers or like
because I only have a
crossbow or
short
something.
sword, and
Oh, you
I'm
have a
thinking I'm doing something for like long range. Like I'm not really a fighter, and I have a thing, but should I have another thing?
So
I don't know. I don't do a lot of
right.
D&D fights.
And so let me give you kind of what your typical options would be. So normally, so in the game, normally what a person would have is like a backup ranged weapon would be like a light crossbow, and some crossbow arrows. Your other options would be a couple daggers to throw, like everybody else or like your sister was asking for, like they were doing in the last session. Where we go? There's light crossbow, a sling, which is like a slingshot type weapon, where you throw stones at people. Like you remember the story of David and Goliath, like that. And then there's also a larger crossbow, a heavy crossbow.
Maybe I'll buy one of those slingshots. So here's what I'm doing while you're looking. I've come to this town to try and get a job. So I am trying to work in the kitchen, and I'm following the cook around, and I'm kind of helping her out in this inn.
Okay. All right, cool. That works. So it says here that you are proficient in, this is the old third edition rules. So instead of being like simple, martial, exotic, it's like here's a list of random shit. You would be proficient in a short bow also if you want to like bow and arrow.